I thought I have to make a note to myself because I had this instantaneous, momentary insight as I was driving here and listening to the radio. I realized how I am literally one with the music. That means that my consciousness is the process of this organism and this brain interacting with the sound waves coming from the radio, which have been produced by the violin and piano in a studio or concert house. So it's this kind of web of entangled processes. And I have also been reading, or I read Carlo Rovelli's Heligoland, his interpretation of quantum mechanics, and it's really a sane interpretation. It implies that reality is a web of interactions, a web of relations. So when I am here interacting with this environment, it's not really that so that I interact with the car and everything I see. It's instead that the process of my existence here is the process of all this. At least an external observer could say that this, what I'm undergoing, experiencing now, is a process of interaction between this biological organism and the cars, the sky, the road, all the sounds I hear. But it's really arbitrary to distinguish between this organism and everything that surrounds it, because it's an entangled web of interactions. I'm constantly affecting the world and the world is affecting me. We form together this kind of recurrent process, and at least according to integrated information theory of consciousness, one could argue that this whole of causal interactions is my consciousness, and that implies that my consciousness is literally this whole set of interactions that is now ongoing here as I speak now. That those cars that I see, they are literally in my consciousness because my brain is constantly interacting with them. That process of interaction between my brain and the cars is my consciousness now. So the cars are literally part of my consciousness. That is to say, the electromagnetic radiation that is hitting my retina, the light, is part of my consciousness. And the sound waves that hit my ears and their sources, they are also part. The cars, like as external entities. I have to be careful now as I drive here. So what's the relevance of this? Well, the relevance is if you consider how consciousness is typically thought of as an internal process, like this Cartesian idea that consciousness is something inside here. It's not, because right now it's the process of interaction with that motorcycle that just passed me. Consciousness is not here, it's also there. And this fits well together with Rovelli's relational interpretation of quantum mechanics, where everything is this constant interaction process where the constituents of that interaction cannot be separated. And that becomes quite obvious when one considers the superposition or the Schrodinger's wave. That when you interact with the quark, by interacting or observing it, you form this kind of interaction process with the quark, so that no longer there is no longer the quark as an independent entity and you as an independent entity. Instead, there is the process of interaction between you and the quark. But let's not go into quantum mechanics now. So this kind of thinking, this kind of, which is often called contextual or embodied cognition or consciousness, or inactive situated cognition or consciousness, it puts us in the world. So that we are no longer sort of alienated from the world, we are part of the world. Or the world is a process where we are also constituents of that process that is the world.